Hello, game day.
Welcome everybody to the second episode of the Hello Game Day podcast. We're going to be chewing the fat for a bit today about footy coming back. We've got Ben Crocker coming on the show. Now,
Exciting.
We love Ben Crocker, and this interview was absolutely fire.
Scintillating.
So I cannot wait for everyone to hear that. First of all, guys, we have got myself, Moosey.
I've got myself the Poncho. I have to think about it for a second.
I didn't make it easy for you. Sorry, mate.
We're ready to delve into the second episode.
And mate, yeah, you guys know I love a shameless plug. We're all over the internet, you know, Facebook, Instagram, the whole lot, and we're on TikTok, or so I thought. So, basically, we've tried to get on TikTok. We want to keep up to date with all the latest
TikTok.
We want to keep up to date with all the latest fashions, with all the trends, what all the kids are doing. So I was like, you know what? I'm seeing all these TikToks around. Let's get on board. So I said, Ponchy, this is your baby.
Yeah.
I want you to be TikTok man. All right? We make an account, and then I go on it to try and check our progress, see how we're going. And I've been notified that we have been hit with a lifetime ban.
So what's happened? Moosey's asked me to make a video that's it's hot enough for TikTok, you know, really brand me as who I'm going to be a part of this podcast. And I've gone too hot. So much so that we didn't even have a follower. It was just an immediate ban from the top dog. So
I think it's because there was a slight bit of nudity in the video.
you know, there was my peaches were out.
And maybe we didn't look at the demographic that was on TikTok, but it was a bit too young. But yeah, anyways, we've also got EJ.
Yeah, so EJ's kits, he is up in this bitch.
For those of you who don't know, he's our producer. He's the great man. He's a very creative, fashionable young man, and we love him.
So, EJ, talk us through your kit really quickly today.
He's repping the Hello Game Day shirt.
Hello Game Day shirt. And what were the pants? Grandpa chic pants with a leather jacket.
And might I mention, he's got the Tiger King haircut going. He hates Carol Baskin.
Nobody likes Carol Baskin.
So EJ's up in here. We're going to post his kits every week to Instagram. And that puts the pressure on the big fella to be repping something fresh and new every week.
Yeah, it's a movement that we are going to continually do each week, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So
Cool story, bro. Anyway, yellow flag up in the play. I've lost my yellow flag. So for those of you who watched the first episode, I'm excited because Ponchy thought that he was going to be a bit of a hero and bring up my employment at Coles when I was 14.
I'm nervous.
And little did I know that it was a bit rich coming from Ponch because he actually was fired from his first job at KFC. And not only was he fired on his trial. He did not make it to a paid shift. So Ponchy, give us the story. Please explain, mate. Let's review the play.
Okay, yeah. My working life, my career-wise, has started off very poorly. I haven't even gotten within 3 hours into my first ever job without pretty much getting the sack. So a bit of a quick backstory. It was the age when we were 15 and we got drunk the night before and I actually got a lift home. I passed out halfway making my way back home on the train. I passed out on this lawn and this family picked me up and randomly they knew who I was. Like this kid that I've known around the area.
Lucky.
It was so lucky when the car pulled up and I just hear this, check if he's all right. And then this guy's like, Ponch? And I was like, oh, shit. So anyways, I've got dropped off home. Lovely, lovely folk. I get into work the next day and he is my manager.
What are the odds?
He's taking me through the ropes. So I couldn't believe it. Now, anyways, I'm struggling, but I'm getting through it. And the thing that they put me in the drive-through. Right. So I didn't have much responsibility. No one was coming through. It was a pretty easy task. But I was like to my mate, please, man, I'm getting pretty hungry. He's like, yeah, don't worry. I can make up a good double zinger. I'll get you going. I'll slip it to you. So he brings it around to me into the drive-through. I'm having to eat. And the boys are kind of gathering around. And the big dog manager is coming across while I'm halfway through hoffing down this double zinger. So I panic.
Who, the manager from the store? Or?
Yeah, so like the big dog at KFC.
Right.
I have him as like my mate is my, looking after me, showing me the ropes. And then
Right.
there's like the on-shift manager.
Okay.
So I'm in there and I panic and I think, all right, I'm going to just scoff this thing in my mouth. So I'm in the window. I just shove it in my mouth. He walks over and I'm just standing like back against the wall, like just freaking out. And he goes, turn around. And I turn around and my mouth is just full of this burger. I'm like, so I finished this burger. He's like, what were you eating? And I was just like, oh, just a couple of chips. Little did he know that I have shoved this double zinger, the half of it, down my pants. And out of fear, he made me mop the floors for the last 4 hours of that shift. Out of fear, I did not take it out. But the anxiety of that shift, once I left, I was mighty hungry. Now, I'm going to be honest and say I finished off the double zinger after the shift.
They must have just thought you were packing heat down there.
Mate, the boys thought I had some sort of Ron Jeremy going on.
Elephantitis.
Yeah, so my career and working career did not start off very well, and I can guarantee there'll be a few more stories.
So they just told you not to come back.
Yeah, it was a don't come Monday. But on top of that, we knew there was another yellow flag. Review on the play, Moosey. Now,
Okay.
let me set the scene.
Okay.
And for people, this is an image that, I can say things with my words, but if you get to see this image, and we'll put it on Instagram, this is what Jake used to look like as a 15-year-old back in the day. I would call him sort of a 15-year-old obese-looking Snape. So I knew that'd get ya. I knew that would get ya. So this is who we're dealing with back in the day. The rat bag, rat scallion. That was fresh off your... I'll let that simmer on the screen so you can divulge
It's
and hurt.
simmering. It hurts.
So I've heard a story about when we're about between 15 and 16 and house parties are starting to happen and hanging out with mates. And, these things become a bit of a big deal. But you'd probably feel a bit crushed if you didn't get invited to a house party. So much so that you'd probably want to take a bit of action into your own hands. Do you know where I'm going with this yet?
I don't.
So apparently what's happened is a girl has thrown a party. You weren't invited and you felt it was an injustice. So you decided to make your way down to 7-Eleven and put it into your own hands. And what you've done is you've gone down to get a carton of eggs. So do you know where this is going? Do you want to take it up from here?
Not really, no.
So
It rings a bell, but...
this is what I've heard is you've gone down to get a carton of eggs so that you can go and egg her party. But instead of trying to buy them, you've tried to steal them and got caught by the shop owner and got the police called on you. And you got done with the police.
It's all starting to make sense.
And
Did
then-
Cook tell you this?
No,
Who told you
I
this?
can't divulge my sources, but all I can say is apparently after this you had to do a ropes course with the police.
All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
Give us your flavour on
Okay.
what I've
now I
divulged.
know. Now I know.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was a rebel when I was 15.
Yeah.
Wasn't to be messed with, or so I thought. And so I'm not going to say her name, but this girl was having a party, and I was not happy that I did not get invited.
Yeah.
And so I obviously went to take it into my own hands. Went down to 7-Eleven, went to get some eggs. Tried to steal them. Tried to walk out. The bloke, as I'm trying to walk out, 2 undercover police officers come. Not undercover, but off-duty police officers.
You are kidding.
Walk in to 7-Eleven as that's happening. So I'm trying to leave, and they basically back me in. They lock the 7-Eleven sliding doors, and I'm trapped. I've got these 2 big blokes, and I was like, my mates got out of there, by the way. I was with a few mates, but they were outside. I was the dickhead inside.
You weren't the most agile back in the day either.
They would have had me covered. Oh, anyone would have had me covered in a 100-meter sprint back then. But so anyways, these blokes, they corral me. They lock me in. The cops come. I get arrested. I get put in the back of a divvy van. My mum gets the call up, and she is fuming when she gets down to the police station. And I am just tail between the legs. But that's not even the worst of it. I'm sure you've got other stitch-ups for another day. But,
Oh, yes, I definitely do.
but yes, long story short, I had to do a character building ropes course.
Well, it's work.
And the other kids there, because it's like basically what this is like you do a ropes course and then you get your criminal record or whatever wiped. So you don't get a criminal record.
Yeah.
They just give it to like idiot teenagers who offend.
Yeah.
So I had to do that, and all the other kids were like, you know, I was like, "What are you here for?" They were like, you know, painting trains and stabbing someone, and I was like, they're like, "What are you here for?" And I was like, stole some eggs. Tried to, at least.
Oh, so I'm glad. I was worried for a second there that this might have been a story that someone made up, but okay, so I'm glad we got there in the end. That was a...
You knew more about the story than I do. You really
Yeah,
had to
I was
refresh
actually
my
worried
memory.
for a second there. I thought you were going to be like, hold on, this has actually been a stitch up to me. Someone just made up a story about you. So I'm glad we got there in the end.
The double stitch.
The double stitch.
That's one for the future.
That
Anyways, enough about me.
Yeah.
And you. So footy's back.
Yeah.
June 11. I'm excited. I'm not really too sure about the finer details of what's going to happen, but I'm pumped.
Yeah, so they're coming back to training May 25th. They get their 3 weeks of training, and the first game back is the Thursday night, June 11th. Tigers taking on the Pies. I am so ready for footy to be back, like everyone else at home would be. So that's really awesome. And one of the, there's a lot of restrictions obviously coming in place to bringing it back. And one of them is testing for COVID-19. Now, all the players have had to go into their respective place. So Marvel was for all the 9 Melbourne-based teams. Geelong had their own space, and then obviously the interstates. So everyone's been tested to make sure there's no COVID, and once that comes back, well, hopefully clear, then obviously they'll progress to us being able to get the games. But I want to touch on the COVID testing for people who haven't probably done it out there or don't really know too much about it. It is one of the most aggressive tests you can get from a doctor. It is so invasive. So what you do is you go in, they swab your mouth, and what they've got is this 10 centimeter like plastic.
So you had to get it done when you...
So obviously I've got to explain this why I got it done. I've come back from Canada. I've jumped the gun there. And obviously coming back into the country, we've all had to get tested as a mandatory thing. So when we got our test done, it's this 10 centimeter long, like plasticky kind of rod that's flimsy, and it has a little cotton bud at the tip of it. And when they put it in, they don't just swipe the thing. It goes so far up the back of your nose and around the back. So the lady before I did my test has given me a cloth just in case I need a cough or anything. And immediately when she put it in, I've just coughed straight in her face. And I'm sitting there, and they have to have it in for 30 seconds, or at least when it first came out. So she's jamming it around your nose, and it's...
So she's getting up in there.
Mate, she was getting up in your cools because they want to make sure if there's COVID, they'll find it. Yeah, so they are very, very intense, and the process is intense. So the boys have all had to cop that one, and I feel like they've copped it all sweetly, and hopefully the results come back, and footy is definitely coming back. Absolutely.
Well, mate, I think that hopefully if there is any COVID, they can nip it in the bud. You saw with the UFC that one of the athletes actually had COVID. So
I didn't actually realize.
Yeah, so one of the guys, Jacare Souza, had COVID-19, and they tested him for it. He did the weigh-ins and everything, and then they found out that he had it, and they just sort of quarantined him, tested everyone around him, and yeah, it was all sweet. But yeah, so hopefully the AFL can be proactive and take a few leaves out of the UFC's book even. Yeah, awesome. Well, obviously they've got a positive case, but they've been able to get their sport still going. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But June 11th, I'm hoping that they're back. Footy gods, please smile on us. Now, Ponchy, best on your segment, your baby. Yes, I don't know what's going on this week. No, so I want to leave you in the dark a bit more. So I've had a friend send in a bit of footage. Now, this is a very, very great man from the Palm Beach Football Club in Currumbin, the Twos coach, Richie Elliott. And by God, he gets up and about in the change rooms. If you haven't heard a Richie Elliott speech from Palm Beach, you are not a Palm Beach boy. So I'm giving him a massive pump up. Will I feel like a Palm Beach boy after this? Mate, 100%. You'll know what it is like to be a Palm Beach boy. So I'm going to get this up on the screen for you. Have a listen, and then we'll divulge and see what we think. Yep. Their fucking face today for once. Today's about turning the fucking heat up on them. We haven't seen them under pressure. We'll fucking get them chasing us. Let's see how they turn on each other. They will turn on each other. They're a transient club. They're a transient club. They're full of mercenaries. They're not full of fucking Palm Beach boys. I look at here. I look at fucking Tommy. I look at fucking Derek. I look at fucking Siggy, Harrow. I look at all you boys, Pearso, Cooney. You're all fucking Palm Beach boys that have played here since you were kids. I look at boys that have become Palm Beachers. Fucking Oggy, fucking Brooksy, Harrow, fucking Marsh. All of you, fucking Custard.
Which fucking boys will play the fucking grand final next week?
Unbelievable. I've never seen a man work for his choice of a hot dog or a pie and a can of soft drink after the game at the canteen like that.
How do you feel?
That
Are you ready to?
amazing.
I'm sweating
I am
after
about
watching
to
that.
literally I'm about to explode. If the big fella did not get the old, all right, boy, yeah, come on, boy, he would have gone all day.
No, absolutely.
He would have gone all day because he was just he was looking around and naming everybody in that in that circle.
You'd be stiff if you weren't named.
Yeah, I'd be furious if I wasn't named.
Yes.
But Palm Beach Boys, as a pillar of the community,
Yes.
for society.
And naming the opponents as transient mercenaries, which they are. So
That
this-
look, honestly, I felt like I was in the trenches just
Yeah,
then.
mate,
Just
we-
listening to that.
we love him, and I'm very, very glad we put it on. He's an absolute ripping coach,
What a
ripping
weapon.
bloke. So I'm very, very glad, Rich, we had you on for that.
Mate, enjoy your hot dog and your soft drink at the canteen,
canteen.
mate, because you've deserved it.
Absolutely.
It's well earned.
Absolutely. So,
Well, that's it, mate.
yep.
Best On has been an absolute ripper, and every week we'll be doing a new one, and I will know nothing about it. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Poncho
Yeah,
pulls out of the
fresh
hat every
reactions.
week. Now, our interview today with Benny Crocker. Mate, this one was lit. It was funny, but it was also, we were able to go pretty deep with him. He's such an open book, Ben. I absolutely just love the bloke. He's such an open book. He's so open about himself, about, you know, who he is as a person, and it really shines through in the interview. If you ask anybody that knows him, they will tell you he's the funniest dude that, you know. They'll tell you that he's also just a great bloke. You know, he's the kind of bloke who, if you've gone through something, his kettle will be on, his front door will be open. You can go chat to him about it. So,
Yeah. So he was a really good character. I've met him a couple of times, but he's an absolute firecracker. I love how he got amongst us, and really just giving the insight as well about his family background and other things. So I really appreciate Benny coming on, and really looking forward to letting everyone see how the interview divulges.
exactly. And if you're an Adelaide Crows supporter, be excited because you have got a seriously good caliber of human being to your club. So thank you to Benny Crocker, and I hope you guys all really enjoy this. Hey, Ponchy.
Yo, don't come in, Moose.
Ponch. Mate, are you selling your last chance underpants on eBay?
Oh, times are tough, Moosey. If I don't sell these, then I might actually have to go and get a real job.
Oh, we need to chop out here, guys. If you're a business owner and want to help increase the thread count on Ponchy's underwear, we're looking to bring in an official sponsor of the show. So hit us up, hellogamedaypodcast@gmail.com. Okay, Ponch. Benny Crocker's about to dial in, so get your head in the game.
Let's get him, Moosey! All right, so we've got Benny Crocker here. A bit of an introduction. He's a Carey Grammar boy. He went through the Oakley Chargers through the TAC program and captained them to a premiership. Picked 65 to Collingwood in the national draft, and now he finds himself in the city of churches at Adelaide Crows. Benny, give us your biggest hello game day.
That's what we love.
That's what we want.
I don't think anybody's ever going to be able to top that.
Well, he set a precedence. He set a precedence high. So we're going to start off with some hot questions. Probably not as hot as that.
Are you well,
What's the cheese
darling?
grater?
We're going to start off, mate. So we're going to touch on Collingwood and the Rat Pack especially. So for people who don't know the notorious Rat Pack with Collingwood, back in the day, had your Heath Shaws,
Swannies,
Swannies.
Diadac, all the boys.
all the characters. And now the resurgence of that was coming back through the boys with Geordie and Brazzy and yourself. But now that you've left left to Adelaide from Collingwood, has this been the nail in the coffin for the Rat Pack down at Collingwood?
Most definitely.
Especially with
There's,
those antics.
I think, well, obviously the Rat Pack got away with a lot more stuff than what we would have, but I think it started with someone. I'm not sure if it was Swanee or Taz, or because Chris Tarrant still works at the club. Was saying, "Oh, like boys, you're nothing like us. You're the mouse pack." And then somehow, I think Swanee mentioned it on a podcast or something, and a few people started commenting on our photos, like with mouses, and we just ran with it and had a laugh. But yeah, those two are nothing now.
It's funny. So with the Rat Pack, there's a lot of colourful characters and there's actually a lot of colourful tattoos. Now, another rumour in the rumour mill that we've heard is that an initiation into the Collingwood Rat Pack, or even in Collingwood in general, is that you need to get a tattoo done by Stevie Wonder. Is that true?
Stevie Wonder. I don't know about that. I think Geordie's fairly covered now. But Braden's got maybe one on his wrist or something. So
not
I reckon
enough,
I might have to give Stevie Wonder a call.
Well, mate, you know Stevie well because you've actually got a classic Stevie tattoo on your arm. Can you give us the story behind your parents' anniversary tattoo?
So I was like, oh, I'll get there it is.
Yep.
I was like,
beautiful.
Lovely.
I'll do something nice. I'll get a tattoo of something family-like, because a lot of the stuff I have is just like, like balaclavas and stuff like that, just random shit. And I was like, oh, my mum was on the phone and I'm like, "Hey, Mum, what's you and Dad's anniversary? Like, I'm gonna get a tattoo." And I swear to God, like, she'll deny it, but she wrote on a piece of paper the second. So I fucking took the piece of paper in, and I was like, "Yeah, this is what I want to get. I want to get a photo and the date." Ended up getting the 17th of the 2nd, 84. And then I came home and I'm like, "Oh, look at this." And she like looked in and she was like, "Oh, that's so nice, but you've got the date wrong." And I was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "You fucking wrote on a piece of paper for me." And she's like, "No, we got married in March, not Feb."
Oh.
So yeah, I don't know what I'll do with it. I reckon I might just leave it. No one knows anyway. Or used to not know.
So that's a classic. And a last little touch on the tattoos. Have you ever considered that when you reach the age of 70, you'll look like a scuffed leather handbag with all the tattoos you've got on you?
I'll still be an absolute rooster.
Nah, that's very stiff, Ponchy, because every time I see Croc, mate, his tattoos are glistening.
Impeccable.
And he is silky smooth. And I was wondering why it is. And then I was actually speaking to his brother, Sammy Crocker, last night. And I realized that it's because he moisturizes his body from head to toe every night. Is this true?
Yes, I do,
The silky smooth skin.
What moisturizer do we use?
I'm guilty for moisturizing daily. I don't have a brand, but I got given a thing called Bum Bum cream from Mecca for my birthday, and it just smells gross.
Beautiful. And also, speaking of Sammy, he reckons you're not the best footballer in your family. What would you say about that?
Why don't you ask him how many games he played?
Fires back hot.
Absolute donuts, Sammy boy.
Mate, the last one on the rapid fire question. Obviously, you're at your family home now, right?
Nah, I'm in Adelaide.
Oh, you're in Adelaide.
Yeah, I'm back in Adelaide.
But before that, you lived with your family in Melbourne.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you live at your family's home, you get a bit complacent. Mum does your washing for you. Apparently, mate, one day you went into the dryer before training to get your stuff out for footy, and you had a bit of a wardrobe malfunction. Can you enlighten us?
Give us a bit of goss.
Yeah, so when you did, like, yeah, if I had all my shit in the dryer one morning, I reached in and grabbed a handful out and threw it in my bag. Like, didn't look, because obviously it was all my shit, man. I got to the club and I was like just putting everything away, and I pulled out like a pair of my mum's lacy panties. And I quickly, like, I was looking around the room being like, fuck, I hope no one sees
In the
me.
changing room.
In the change room. And I said to Geordie, because Geordie's was across from me, like exactly the number across from me, and Bruz was next to me. And I said, "Oh, fuck, boys, I've accidentally brought mum's panties in." And I come back. I told them, and I left the room. I was doing whatever to get ready for training.
We'll get off the stitch up. So we're going to do a bit more serious stuff about your background. So we first want to know, what were you like when you were a little bit younger or in your teenage years as a bloke?
I I think everyone goes through the lad stage.
Yeah, I've been there.
I went through mine pretty hard, I think. I used to think I was fucking real tough, and yeah, I probably wasn't.
Staying a few trains in the
bit
day.
Yeah, there was a bit of fucking train standing, my boy. No, like I used to get in trouble and fuck around a bit. But I think like the older I got, I realised that like you'd rather be friends with everyone and like have a good relationship with everyone, because when you're out, you know this person, you know that person. But yeah, I probably wasn't like the nicest person I wouldn't have thought when I was younger.
Yeah, I think we've all kind of. So
yeah, everyone's had their stage.
Yeah.
Moose is still going through his, so we're waiting
Yeah,
for him
mate,
to
still
get out of
painting
it.
trains.
So,
Still throwing down at Camberwell Station.
We were going to ask, so with your footy and your juniors, where did that all start off with? Were you an Oz kicker, or did it come in a bit late?
I was an Oz kicker. I played for Baldwin Tigers as like a junior. And then like I did my Oz kick there, and then played there, and then went to Canterbury Cobras.
Yep.
Because my cousins played there. And then when I went to Carey, started school, I ended up playing for Q Comets. And just went from like that to Oakley Chargers, and just kept playing until pretty much AFL.
Yeah. So at what point did you think through all that process you'd actually be able to get on an AFL list and make a career of it?
I probably thought like I was pretty capable of playing when I was young. I was always playing in rep teams and like doing all of that. I think I probably lost a bit of passion when I was probably like 14, 15. Like I think it's probably caught up getting into trouble a bit more, and like I still played, but I wasn't like, fuck, I want to play AFL really badly. And then kind of when you go to under 18s, it's when it gets a bit more serious. And I played in a grand final with Geordie in my bottom age year. And then I was invited to Vic Metro and ended up making like the AIS squad.
Yeah.
So like when you make AIS, which is, it's like the Australian team or whatever you call it, you end up like going away with a team, and like every recruiter from every AFL club comes. So like no matter what, you're gonna be introduced to certain AFL clubs or people who make decisions there. And lucky enough for me, I was able to meet a person from every club and kind of I guess train in front of them, play in front of them, and start like a relationship where you know who they are and they know who you are. So
absolutely. And another question I want to know, for a lot of people who, grew up wanting to play AFL, but maybe not make it quite there. What was it like with your first ever AFL game? Was it everything you kind of hoped it would be through all the hard work you put in?
Is that you asking the question, Richie?
Yes, it is. So I'm a little bit off screen in the old Zoom call.
There's a tear coming down his
presence.
eye. Right now.
Yeah, I'm thinking, is that a question directed at your career coming?
Yes, it is. For people who don't know, I'm a failed
It was bittersweet for him to ask that.
So what I'm trying to ask is, I want to live through your shoes right now. Can you tell me?
So what's it like to play your first game? Well, I was lucky. I think I played like 11 games in my first year. I got to come in because I think Jamie Elliott was injured. Like I don't know if I would have played as many games if that didn't happen. But yeah, you get your opportunity through all sorts of things. So I came in against Carlton in round 7. Round 7. And like Carlton Collingwood have a massive rivalry. And I think it was like one of their anniversary games. So I think like the crowd was like 75,000 or something, 80,000. And it was on a Saturday, like daytime afternoon. So
that's massive.
I remember like I rocked up because I used to go to the club before and grab all my shit, my boots and stuff, and then drive over. Like the first time you go, you have to drive under the MCG. I didn't know like how to do that. I didn't know like where to hand my tickets into, like, so you got all of that like before the game where you're fucking stressing about that.
Yeah.
I remember I rocked up to the club like literally 4 hours before the game started and just like sat in the pool, and I was stressing hard. But then like, you're right. I mean, I would have had a fucking terrible game as well. Standard.
I checked the stats that you did okay for a debut. So
Yeah. End up being the season average. Yeah, once you run out, you kind of, like, as games go on, you kind of forget about the crowd. But like that game, just like, it was so fucking loud, and like you almost lose track of where the ball is. You're just like what the fuck's going on? There's so many people running around, calling things. Like, yeah, it's cool. It's like the most unreal feeling to run out in the race and like have everyone kind of come to you and fucking good luck today, bro, blah blah blah. But yeah, I mean, it'd have to be in the top like couple of feelings I've ever had in my life. Yeah.
Yeah. And now you're at Adelaide, mate, and you've come from Collingwood. It's obviously a different city and all that. And one of the things that is obviously really important to you is your family, and especially your old man, because for people that don't know, he's had an early onset of dementia, and it is something that you're having to deal with. So how's that been for you?
Yeah, big Paulie C. Yeah, I think like I've been dealing with it for so long. Like, don't get me wrong, it fucking sucks, and it like I wouldn't wish it upon anyone. It's hard. It's even harder being away from him now. But like I've dealt with it for 5 years now. That it's just like part of my life, and I don't wake up every day and I'm like, fuck, why me? Like, you definitely have those moments, but I mean, my personality as well. Like, things rarely weigh me down for long. Like, I'm someone who can like get over hurdles. Like, I don't like all that stuff doesn't faze me too much. So I've just, found a way to deal with it. I try and kind of take a funny side out of what's going on. Because I mean, reality is probably not going to be alive for too much longer. So you want to enjoy the time you have with him. And I think the big thing for me was like having kind of everyone accept it. Like, I don't have to be embarrassed about it. So I love having friends over. I love talking about him to people, showing them videos, and being away from home. That's another thing that kind of makes it easier. Like, just talking to people about him, doing all that stuff.
Yeah. And I'm sure you know this, but my old man passed away when I was 19. And for 5 years, I had a similar thing where I was watching him decline. And if I could go back and have the similar sort of attitude that you've got now, I definitely would, because the fact that you can, have a good sense of humor about everything and really not be ashamed of it is really amazing. How have you cultivated that?
There was definitely a time, like when I was in my first year or two at Collingwood, like I was so like embarrassed about it. And I mean, part of that's like I was still only 18, and like, I mean, none of my, like, I'd had friends that had parents pass away and stuff, but I didn't have any friends that had kind of had like a parent go through, like, because he physically he's fit, but mentally he's not, like, and it's real different to like, I've had friends whose parents have passed away from cancer. Like, it's just you deal with it differently. Like, I haven't had a conversation with my dad since I was 16. I don't reckon 17. So that's like 6 years. I haven't had a proper conversation with him. Like, he used to come to all my games. I think the last game that he was like I could talk to him and he was involved in was my debut. So that's 5 years ago. So like, you look at that stuff and people are always like, oh, it's so sad. And it is, but I don't know. I just like kind of came to terms with it that like this shit's going to get harder, and eventually he's going to die from it. So well, yeah, I kind of want to do all I can to enjoy it and not like have to sit back and in years to come be like, fuck, I wish I did this and I wish I did more of this with him. And like, it is cool. Like, people come over and like everyone's so understanding, and like all the fucking boys love him as well. Like, he's pretty fucking funny.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, he is. And mate, it's such an awesome like outlook that you've got and everything. And I think that you really do embody the idea of just being open about your life and not hiding things away, not internalizing things. And I really admire that. And I think you're a great example to other people who are going through things as well. So what advice would you give to other people about not internalizing and just sort of opening up?
I mean, yeah, I get asked this question a bit when I talk to people. It's hard because everyone's different and everyone deals with things differently. But I think for me, like, I remember like a few, obviously Geordie and Braden knew what was going on because they were my best mates. But besides that, no one knew at Collingwood. And it just got to a point where like, I would miss a couple of days or something would happen and like people would be like, oh, where are you? And I'd just make up something. And it got to a point where like I was having to cover up the stuff that I was like lying about because I would fucking tell one person something, the next person something else. And I just got to the point where I was like, fuck it. I'm just going to say, what's going on. And like, I think you find that people are so much more understanding than what you probably think. And like when I stood up in a room as well. Like I did a kind of documentary thing about it.
Yeah, we've seen that
with Adelaide.
And I
Yeah,
stood
with
up in like a room with my whole, and I did it at Collingwood. So the first time I did it was at Collingwood, and I stood up in a room with like the whole playing squad, every coach, every staff member, and just kind of told them like, oh, this is what's going on. Like things are pretty hard at the moment, blah, blah, blah. And I think like boys were like, fuck, like we had no idea, mate. Cause like I'm really jovial and I used to come into the club and like be the person that would fucking make people laugh. And like, if I saw someone that was feeling shit, I'd fucking go out of my way to try and make them feel better. And like when I could tell them what was going on, like it just weight lifted off your shoulder. So yeah, it's hard. It is hard for some people, but that was definitely the best thing I've done. And it allowed me to move forward like so quickly and easily.
Yep. And yeah, mate, thank you so much for sharing that with us, man. I really appreciate it. But moving on now, how's the transition been to moving to Adelaide? And in particular, who are you really gravitating towards at the club?
Yeah. So when I got flicks from the Pies, I had a feeling that I had a feeling that I would get picked up by the Crows. Like I had a little feeling. I'd heard a few things. I actually, like after the season, I ended up calling every AFL coach pretty much and saying, "Can I get a coffee with you?" Because I think there's a lot of like a rumor about me that I'm like a real loose guy and I don't give a fuck and I do what I want. And I mean, a part of that's probably the image, like the tattoos and that. But like Moose, you could fucking even say, you know me well, like. Yeah, I like to fucking joke around and that, but I'm real serious about footy.
Well, one of the things that Geordie always says is that you're like the hardest trainer that he knows. And that shows in the fact that you're top of the endurance list at every club you've been to.
And I think like trying to get that across to people, like I found really hard after I got delisted. And a lot of people kind of ask the question, well, why'd you get delisted if you're good enough type thing? It must be a personality thing or so I ended up calling pretty much every AFL coach and trying to get a meeting with them. And I thought it'd be better if they saw me doing it myself and not letting someone else do it for me. So I ended up meeting up with about 8 coaches or recruiters from clubs. And I met up with Justin Reid, who's the Adelaide recruiter or list manager. And I called Matthew Nix, who'd just been appointed at the time, and just said, look, mate, I think I can offer a lot to your club. Just sit down with me, kind of meet the person I am, learn about like what I've dealt with, blah, blah, blah. End up having a meeting with Adelaide, went pretty well. And then, yeah, kind of had the inkling that I was going to get picked up. Came over within a week or 5 days getting picked up, or probably less, which is like a pretty big move for anyone, really. But luckily, like I'd been in the system for 5 years, so I'd kind of I know what I have to do. I know the training. You've played against boys here before. But I moved over with Tyson Goldsack. He moved here with his wife and kids. So I've moved in with them. And that's made it 100 times easier. Like, I don't know how much I'd be enjoying it at the start, especially if I didn't have Goldie. But in terms of who I've gravitated towards at the club, Tex, obviously, I get along really well with him. Tom Lynch is an awesome bloke, and I've known him for a while through family connections. Lockie Murphy, Miles Baholke. They're all like, every club has good guys. They're all good guys.
How about
I just
big
think, like, the heart.
Rory Atkins? How's he going? He's a Marby boy. So I could have told him to take you under his wing, but I thought I'd leave you to your own devices.
I'll take him under my wing. He's actually lockering next to me. I'm number 20. He's number 21. He's next to me. Yeah, I was gonna say 19 or 21. Fuck, I forgot.
I'm here for the stats.
Yeah, good. Number 21. So I got along with him straight away. And he's one of the boys that I would hang out with outside of the club.
Man.
So
Good man.
he's a good man. He's very fucking ugly though.
Croc, that's all we've got for you, big fella. I really appreciate you coming on, mate. And I think that everyone will get a lot from this interview. So on behalf of the Hello Game Day boys, we'd like to thank you greatly for coming on.
Appreciate it, big boy.
No worries, boys.
Yeah. Cheers, big boy.
Thanks, Croc. See you, brother. So that was our interview with Benny Crocker, and what a man. Absolutely fantastic. I loved it. I hope you guys all really enjoyed it, and we're going to be having new interviews every week. Wednesday at midday, we're going to be releasing new interviews with new people, so get up and about for that.
Yeah, definitely come back for a laugh every week. So I've been the Ponch.
And I have been the Moose.
And next week when you tune in, bring a mate.
Thank you for tuning in to the Hello Game Day podcast.
If you're listening right now, that means you've made it to the end of the episode and maybe even enjoyed what you've heard.
If so, you can join us on all major social media platforms, as well as audio podcasting platforms and YouTube. Or just head on over to our website at www.hellogameday.co and hit subscribe to join our mailing list, where you can receive weekly updates on the podcast. We'd like to give a massive thank you to our producer Ethan Curtin. Find him on Instagram at Room 10 Company, as well as Equal Tech, who have given us an office space to work in, and our beautiful graphic design is done by Chev at GRAPHINK Design. He's been the Ponch.
He's been the Moose. And next time you drop in, bring a mate.